Hi, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to display your jet booking listings while you're in WooCommerce mode. First, I'm going to start by showing the limitations of using a theme like Kava, and you don't have much control over how your products and your shop pages are going to look like. So on the screen right now is an example of relying on the theme to show how your jet bookings can be listed on your shop page. And then if I jump over into each one of the listings, this is how the theme is going to lay out every single one of your listings. So as you can see, if you wanted to have, let's say, your image on the left, that's not really possible using a theme. In part 2 of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can use JetWooBuilder and JetProductGallery and to create a custom product page layout like this. So the user can scroll down and see the images, and then you can make something like this on the right sticky, and then the user's going to have the ability to assign their booking right here. And then in the last part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can customize your listings or your shop page, and you can use JetEngine and the listing grid to display a grid of all of your different bookings right here like this. So let's jump into the back end and get started. First, what I'm going to do is show you how I have this website set up so you kind of understand how everything is working. So inside of here, I have a few different things already enabled. So I have jet bookings enabled. And if I go underneath settings, you can see right here, I have the WooCommerce based right here under booking mode. So this is going to give the ability to have your bookings linked it to your WooCommerce. So of course, you're going to need WooCommerce installed first, and then you can enable this. And then underneath products right here, since it's using WooCommerce, they're called products. And here are my 6 different bookings that you can book through the website. So I'll just click on one of these as an example so you can see how I have it all set up. So this one right here is just called Farmhouse. And then you can see right down here, I assigned how much it's going to cost per night. And then if I scroll down here under the product data, you're going to want to make sure, of course, you have jet booking product enabled right here. And then on the right side, I just have a product image. And then I did install JetProductGallery, so we're going to be using this later in the tutorial. But as you can see, this is where those product gallery images are going to appear. And then I just assigned it to a different category right here. And I also gave it a short product description right down here. So kind of just standard on how you can set up your bookings. But if we jump over into the shop page that is automatically generated by WooCommerce, this is how the theme is laying this out. So let me show you how you don't have much control over that. So let me go into customize, and you can move some stuff around. You're not going to be able to change a lot of the lookout, but you can change how many items are going to be displayed. So if you rely on your theme, what you need to do is click on that customize at the top, and then go underneath WooCommerce and click product catalog. Once you do that, you're going to see only a few different options, like I said. So you want to show your products, which are your listings. And then down here, you can sort by a few different things. You can go by, price, most recent, just kind of standard, but I'm going to keep that by default. And the only thing you could really control under these theme settings is the products per row. So as you can see now, I can do a grid of 3, or if I wanted to have 2, you can see right here, that's how it's going to look. So unless you start doing some custom CSS or anything, you're not going to be able to, customize this the way you really want. So if you go back to 4, and then rows per page, you can only, if you just want to have one row of 4, you would just change this to like 1. So if I wanted to get rid of these 2 down here, you can see that's how it's going to work. And then it will kick into like a pagination right down here. And the other option you can change is underneath product images. This is where you're going to go ahead and change out any width. So instead of like 300 pixels, if for some reason you want to half that and go to like 150, you can see that's going to shrink down your images right here. And then they give you a few different options to do cropping. So if you want to have like a square or 16 by 9, you would put that in right here. But let's just go ahead and just put that back to default. And now, like I said, I'm going to jump into how you can use JetWooBuilder and actually be able to customize these pages, to any liking that you want. So now I'm going to jump into how you can customize the product pages for each of your listings. So the first thing you're going to want to make sure you have installed is JetWooBuilder. And then if you want to change out how your gallery is going to look, you can install JetProductGallery. But if we go underneath JetWooBuilder, what I recommend is just go underneath the general settings and the widgets and just enable or turn on and off, whichever things that you're going to need for your website. So if you go underneath widgets, you're going to see JetWooBuilder gives you tons of different options. But what we're going to be mainly focusing on in this part of the tutorial is just this one right here called single product widgets. So these are all the things that you can bring in from like WooCommerce into your custom layout. And then very similar, if you go underneath JetProductGallery, they give you a few different galleries that you can choose from. So I would just recommend turning on all of these and then just click and drag the widgets in and see which one is going to kind of fit your format. Now you can actually start to build out these pages. So what you need to do is go underneath Crackleblock, click on Woo Page Builder. Then once you do that, this is going to be blank for you, of course, but go ahead and click Create New Template. And then just select this first one called Single. So this is going to be your single like bookings product page. And then give it a name. I just call mine Single Product Demo. And then if you want, you could choose one of these pre-selected templates right here just to kind of get an idea for what widgets will work and whatnot. Then you can just go ahead and click this blue button, Create Template. And here we are on the one that I showed you in the beginning of this tutorial. So let's go ahead and just show you how everything was set up. As you can see, I'm using the container system right here. And then I just split this container up into two different containers. So I just clicked right here, Flexbox, and I clicked this one right here. So this one right here is called the Gallery Anchor Navigation. So that's part of the Jet Product Gallery. So what you could do is just have JetWooBuilder and Jet Product Gallery open. So you can close down all these other ones just to keep your life a little more organized. And what I did is I just clicked in this first one right here, Gallery Anchor Navigation. So there's, three other ones that you can pull in. It's called the Gallery Grid. There's a modern one and then like a slider. But I figure this one looks pretty good. And when you scroll down, this part could be sticky. So once you pull in that widget, then what you're going to do is underneath Source, choose WooCommerce Products. Now let me go into here and just show you that you have to have images in your product gallery already. So you're going to want to make sure you already have all your listings done. And then on the right side right here where it says Product Gallery, those ones I showed you earlier, you're going to want to add some images in here. So that's what's being pulled in right here when you choose WooCommerce Products. And then underneath here, underneath Images, you could choose how you want your thumbnail to be displayed. So depending on how you're going to have everything laid out pixel-wise, medium, large might be good, or full. If you're uploading images to the right dimensions, just kind of click around and see which one's going to fit without losing like resolution. We don't have a video in this example, but if you go underneath images, you could see right here, you could choose if you want like a bigger gap in between these images, background color. I removed the navigation right here, but if you want, you can actually have bullets. So if I increase this to like 20 and then like 20 as well, you can see these are now going to be navigational bullets. So the user can click on one of these and like scroll down. And then up here where it says offset top, you might need to change that if you have like a sticky navigation. So if I scroll down, you see how like my navigation's sticky. So you may need to adjust this depending on if you have like a sticky navigation. And then you could always change out how wide you want the navigation to be from the images. So of course that doesn't look good. Something like 10. 10 might not be enough. So maybe like 40 if you wanted to have, some navigation so the user can do that. But in this case, if you just want to not have navigation, you could always remove that as well. You could just zero out the width and the height of the bullets. And then this is going to bounce back into nothing. Like once you zero out this width up here, it's going to remove all of that. So that's how you could do the product gallery on the left. Then on the right side, you could see I just have a few different widgets and it's pulling in all this information dynamically. So if we go back into, let me get rid of the Jet Product Gallery. If I jump up into JetWooBuilder, these are the different ones that you can insert into here. So the ones that you want to focus on mainly in this situation is the ones that have the word single in front of it. So you're going to be able to click and drag in any of these, and then it should pull in the information from that listing. So if we go down the list, what I have the very first one, I just have the single title widget. And then you can trim the words if you want, but I just kept everything by default. The next one is just called single price. And of course, that's just going to pull in the price of how much that's going to cost. And then they give you all the different options if you want to change the colors of the currency sign and of course, change typography and all of that. And then this is the single excerpt. And if you go down into the product itself, this is what they call the product short description. So that's your excerpt right here. So whatever you put in here, that's considered the single excerpt. And then this is the most important one. You're going to want to make sure you add in the one called single add to cart. And now with Jet Bookings, when you do that, it's going to automatically pull in the calendar option right here and the button to book. So once the user clicks that, they're going to be able to choose the dates, click book now, and then they're going to go to the checkout page. And then right down here, I just have a regular image, just have something like this. If you're going to be taking different payments, you could put something like this on here. And now let me show you how I have that sticky option. So if you click on the right container and then you go underneath advanced motion effects, you can click on sticky on top. And then if you don't want it sticky on mobile or anything like that, you can turn on and off different options right here. And then in this case, I'm going to make sure that I have an offset of like 100 because it needs to stick and not go over the header right here. So that's what I'm having right here, 100, and then stay in column. So this is going to stay in column until the user gets past this product gallery grid. And then if you had more content right down here, it would stop before there and not just keep going down. So once you're happy with how this page is laid out, what you could do is just go ahead and hit update. Now what we need to do is go inside of WooCommerce and assign this template to make sure everything is synced up correctly. In order to do that, you go underneath WooCommerce, Settings, and then you're going to see this tab up here called JetWooBuilder. And then in this situation, we're going to just be focusing on the single product. Go ahead and just click this button right here where it says Enable Single Product Page, and then choose the one that you just created. Then you need to go down here and just hit Save Changes. So now when I go to a listing, if I hit refresh, again, this is the one from the theme and you don't have much customization on it. You can hit refresh and now it's going to pull in the one we just created. So now it's going to be sticky on the right. The user can scroll and see the images. And then this is where they can go ahead and make their bookings. So once they click that, you just click book now, and then it's going to go to the checkout page, and then the users are going to be able to check out. Now in this part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can customize the default shop page that comes with WooCommerce. So of course, this is how it's going to look if you have your theme. And like I showed earlier, you're not going to be able to really customize much of this. So kind of similar process. What we need to do is go underneath Croco Block, click on Woo Page Builder, and then click Add New Template. And in this case, go ahead and choose this template is for shop, and then give it a name. And then right down here, they have a few different options, if you want to have a template. So just go ahead and click Create Template. And here we are inside of the template that I showed earlier. We're just going to be focusing on how we do the listing grid right here. But if you're curious, these little extra widgets over here is using the Jet Smart Filters option. And then from here, you're going to be able to filter out inside of the grid. But let's just go ahead and focus on adding that listing grid. So if you just type in the word listing, you're going to see this widget right here called the listing grid. So let's just go ahead and click and drag this in here. And then what you're going to want to do is click this button where it says create new listing item. When you get to this page, it's of course going to be blank, but let me show you how I built this one out. The first thing I like to do is click on the settings button down here, and underneath your list settings, what I like to do is change the preview width right here. So this is going to give you the option to see how wide you want this. So when you build it out, you can kind of get a better visual of how wide things are going to be. Then all you need to do is just start to click and drag in some widgets, and then it's going to correspond with each one of those bookings. So the very first one I'm pulling in is just the one called featured image. So if you just do a search for featured image, you just click and drag that one in here. And when you add the featured image, you're going to see it's automatically going to dynamically pull in the one called featured image. You can change the image resolution right here. And down here, this is important if you want to make sure you have this where it's clickable to that listing. You're going to want to go ahead and click on custom URL, and then click this button here that says dynamic tags, and then just choose post URL. That's going to go to the listing. Then the next one is I just pulled in a heading widget right here, and then you're going to go ahead and click dynamic tags. And then underneath WooCommerce, you're going to want to make sure that you choose product title. Don't choose the one up here called post title. You're going to want to go down here and choose the one called WooCommerce product title. And very similar right down here, you can pull in another heading widget if you want. And then this one's called the product price. So I want to show how much it's going to cost. So same thing, you just go underneath WooCommerce and select product price right here. And then the very last one is I just have a button, and I'm pulling in the post URL just like we did up here. So you could have that link So when you click on dynamic tags, you can just choose post URL. That's going to automatically go to that product page that we just created. And then of course, since this is all Elementor, you can go ahead and start changing the backgrounds, add padding, whatever it may be. Then just click update. And then now you can jump back into your shop template and then sync that up. And it's very simple to do. All you need to do is just go underneath your listings right here and just start to type in something that you called it. So I called it shop page listing. And then that's it. It's now going to be displayed right inside of here. So of course, like I said, you can add more stuff to this page like headers or different filters if you have Jet Smart filters installed. But let's just go ahead, hit update, and then let me show you how to assign that to WooCommerce. And it's the same process as the product page. What you need to do is go underneath WooCommerce, Settings, JetWooBuilder, and then this very first one underneath Shop Page, make sure you enable that. And then I just called this one Shop Template. Go down here and hit Save Changes. And now when I go to the shop page, you're going to see right here that it's automatically going to be pulling in that listing grid that we just created. And since this is a listing grid, this has tons of options compared to, just using the template. So inside of here, you're going to have tons of different options. How many posts you want, how many columns. You can see how easy it is to set up different columns right here. If you wanted 2 columns, 3 columns, you could do, custom queries. So pretty much the possibilities are like endless with this listing grid right here. Now, one little bonus tip is if you notice when I click on one of these listings, the URL up here says listing and then the name of the listing. If you want to be able to change this, because normally by default, WooCommerce is just going to call it like product. Let me show you how easy it is to change that. So if you go underneath settings and then your permalinks, this is where you're going to be able to change right down here where it says the product permalinks. You can change the custom based right here to listing. So you can have it booking, whatever word you want in here, but by default, it's always like /product. That's how WooCommerce handles it. So if you want to know how to change that, that's right here and just hit Save Changes. And that's it for this tutorial on how you can use JetWooBuilder and JetEngine to create really customized product pages and your shop page. Thank you for watching.